Testing, testing. Testing, can you hear me? Hello, everyone. Thank you, John, for confirming. Looks like we got a couple of people joining on. So Scott, maybe thank you for the comments there. I appreciate it. Katie joining in as well, and would love to hear, the updates you got, Katie. Taking profits with CleanSpark. So, we talked about, CleanSpark for many, many months now, and it's great to see it moving up. So we'll give it a few minutes. We'll let folks join on, and I got a lot of content I want to cover, but hope you all are having a nice Sunday. I know Friday was just a big, big bloodbath. I mean, it was painful. I think a lot of people got wrecked, including myself. We'll give it a few minutes, but if you don't mind, just putting in the comments where you all are watching from. So, I'm just going to put in the chat where I'm streaming from. It'd be nice just to get an overview of where everyone is at. So put it in the comments where you're all watching from. John Daly, Florida. So Katie from Maine, watching from her couch. Janko, Slovenia. Wow, that's really cool. From Slovenia, Europe. Thanks for joining on. It's probably nighttime over there. Just with a show of hands, like how is everyone holding up with Friday? Friday was definitely a day to worry. I mean, I got spooked out. I don't know about everyone else, but that was such a wild day. I mean, I was going wild on Friday as well. I was chasing. I was making really bad plays. I was doing 0-day options. Really got wiped out. Vin Dow from San Jose, and then we got Andre from London, UK. This is great. We got people from all over the place. So Vin Dow, I'm actually in San Jose as well. So very cool. We got a loco on board here. All right. Well, welcome everyone. We can go ahead and get started. I hope you all are having a beautiful Sunday. In fact, a restful Sunday, especially with Friday being such a bad day. Thank you, Brent, for joining from Louisiana. Yeah, we'll talk about all of the updates. What happened? What's expected? Where things are going to be headed. So let's go ahead and get started. But ultimately, what we're looking at right now, crypto markets, on Friday, we all are aware of what happened. There was a big, big crash with crypto and stocks. It was really a spooktober. I mean, Trump really did spook the entire global markets, but no one really wants to see their portfolio go down, right? So I think with the response we got from China, we're beginning to see, flexibility on both sides. No one really wants to have markets, tank. We've already seen that in Q1 of this year. So, we usually have a recession once every 5 to 6 years, and we had ours, back in 2022. But that's not to say we've had multiple corrections over the course of the last 5 years. I mean, we had Q1, that was a big correction that we had. I think we can't predict what the future is, but we can definitely make decisions based on how the markets are reacting. So Janko, yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of exchanges that didn't allow for you to make any purchases. I didn't have any problems, but it looked like all sorts of exchanges had issues there. So Yep, I agree with you, Brent. I mean, Trump has dialed back on the scare, especially after hearing about what happened. Some people even took their lives because of just going straight leverage with crypto. So, where we are right now, Bitcoin, above, getting back up. I mean, last Friday it was like 103. I mean, getting close to that sub 100 level. But we're seeing a nice bounce up after the response that we got from China and U.S. So I think the whole hostile kind of approach to things, it kind of minimized. And poly market right now is anticipating that we won't even have that 100% tariff that Trump threw out there like on Friday. But overall, markets are looking much better than Friday. I mean, Bitcoin back to 115, Ethereum 4,100. Solana, getting back to, close to 200. So we will see how things hold up. And again, this is just a weekend. Who knows what can come, as we head towards the rest of the week. Let's take a look at this post. I mean, Trump, he pulled the biggest Spooktober event to date. I mean, he realized how much of an impact a single tweet did. So he actually responded. I think markets really like this post from him. I was, really hoping for a response from Trump. I expected that was going to come, especially after China, posting yesterday. But he says, "Don't worry about China. It will be all fine. Highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment. He doesn't want depression for his country, and neither do I. The USA wants to help China, not hurt it. President DJT." So that just shows that there's going to be some negotiations in the upcoming 2 weeks. So Ash Crypto posts the chances of 100% tariffs on China have now dropped to 11% on Poly Market. I mean, right when we got that announcement, what happened? I mean, everyone was like so worried. People were just selling off, crypto stocks. The market panic sold for nothing. So, congratulations to those who was able to buy the dips. But ultimately, this whole 100% tariff on Poly Market, it's 11% chance right now with those odds. Let's take a look at this post. Investors are waking up to some major news from China. This was yesterday. The entire tariff crash on October 10th may have been, one big misunderstanding between Trump and Xi. The news about China's rare earth export controls came out on October 9th. Hours before Trump posted about it. This was a non-news event until Trump posted about over 1 day later. Last night, China released a statement clarifying their export controls on rare earths. In their response, China said the new controls are not a full export ban, and applications that meet regulations will be approved. Amid the market's downturn on Friday, our view was that the 100% tariff announcement by Trump was a bargaining chip. After China's statement last night, we believe the odds of Trump's 100% tariff on China going into effect are extremely low, and Poly Market has it at 11% currently. The largest crypto liquidation in history and a $2.5 trillion loss of S&P 500 market cap appears to have been driven by one big misunderstanding. We expect another trade deal soon. So much has gone on. I mean, just within 48 hours, and I think the markets are beginning to digest all of this, but now we're beginning to see things become more stable. So Zero Hedge posted, Vance, he was on, the news. He talked to Trump, announced, talked to Trump about China yesterday. We appreciate friendship Trump developed with China's Xi. Trump hopes U.S. doesn't need to use leverage on China. So had a great call. So this was, what he was anticipating that Trump would have posted today, and it came out quite similar. So very interesting. All right, we got more people joining on. It looks like we got Mr. Siong. Thank you for joining. Katie, we all know it was one of his cronies that made 200 million on that short. I agree. I think this was all planned. It wasn't coincidence for sure. Daniel, I can't believe I sold Clean Spark at 21 and bought back at 1775. All I see is W. So yeah, good job on that, taking profits there. Nice work. I sold a bunch at 1922. very happy for that. Steve Giles joining from Seattle, West Coast. Thank you for joining, man. You know, got hit decently on Friday. Yeah, man, it was tough. I think all of us got hit. You know, I started going crazy on zero DTEs as well. I was chasing. I got slammed last week with options trading on the weekly. But you know what? Lesson learned. But hopefully things bounce back with the plays that I have in place right now. All right, so Brent, yeah, it was tough. I mean, just looking at all the posts, the videos. I mean, exchanges didn't let you sell or buy. It was, I don't know what was going on there. So Janko, that's the magic 8 ball question there, right? But I think right now we definitely, at least for tomorrow, things are looking quite bullish. But you never know how things will play out, right? I mean, Bitcoin's pumping in the next couple hours. We'll see how things go. But ultimately, Monday is a new day. We will see how the features open tomorrow. But it'll be interesting how things play. So Sam Badawi posted, Vice President Vance sees Trump is willing to be reasonable in negotiating with China. So Bitcoin over 113,000, ETH over 4,000. Back up we go. We got this nice candle with ETH. I mean, doesn't matter what type of coin you have. I think there was like a handful of coins that didn't really get impacted, but overall the big coins did. Chicken Genius, he had a really good post that he posted I want to share with everyone. Is the bull market over? Almost. There's zero leverage in the system. Everyone got cleared out. We all heard about some of the crypto investors who went in like 10x leverage. They all got wiped out, got liquidated. Think of this as a whale. This is the best possible situation to run the charts. No sell pressure all the way up. Everyone left behind, business as usual. If the charts doesn't move up in due time, I will call this end of cycle. So, what's going on? I mean, this is why it's important, to be mindful of investing, when you have like stop losses on, because, the market makers, they can see all that and they will just look at the data points and see where they want to take the price towards up or down and wipe out the people who have stop losses on, as well as those who have positions leveraged. So this is what happened. I think this was a planned, market manipulation going on. And ultimately, those who were in leverage plays got wiped out. Those who continue to short just got wiped out as well, trying to bet against Bitcoin and crypto just recently today. So now that, you got the leverage investors out of the way, I think market makers could really take advantage of setting the price up. Micro to macro, I mean, he posted the most painful Bitcoin trade right now after 1.6 million leverage longs have been wiped out is to wipe out all of the people who are going short. And what we just saw today, I mean, the shorts got wiped out as well. The longs got wiped out, with leverage, and the shorts just got wiped out today with this, possible V-shaped recovery that we're seeing. So, definitely, with this view, in November, he's forecasting we could very well, get to that, 150,000 range by end of November. All right. So, just looking at, where we're headed right now. I mean, Saylor, he posted, don't stop believing. I mean, this really just shows the strength, the dominance of Bitcoin. I think owning this asset, as store value, it just shows the strength. It shows risk management, especially if you're investing in crypto. You might as well have a chunk of it in Bitcoin. Why is that the case? When you have these major drawdowns, Bitcoin holds up quite well. I mean, Friday we saw things tank, in big chunks. I mean, 0.25%, 30%, 40%, altcoins even way more. With Bitcoin, it didn't drop that much. I mean, yes, it did drop like 123,000, got to like 103,000, got eaten up real quick. But when you think about it, though, I mean, we had what the largest liquidation event crypto crash to date with all of that capital in the market. but Bitcoin still remained above 100,000. So that just shows the strength, the dominance where we are now with the price, growing above 100,000, and just hearing that crypto crash and Bitcoin above 100,000. That just shows how strong Bitcoin has matured. I mean, last year around this time, that's when Bitcoin started breaking out above 70, 80, 90, $100,000 in November. So we've seen the growth of Bitcoin. So don't stop believing. Tom Lee, he posts, BMNR currently holds $11.7 billion worth of ETH. Watch out for their updated holdings coming out tomorrow morning. So, just with this, photo with Tom Lee, the king of, ETH, and you got Michael Saylor, the king of, Bitcoin. MSTR owns $73 billion worth of Bitcoin, while Tom Lee has close to $12 billion worth of ETH. I mean, not too far away. When you have a piece of the pie, you got 73% of it by Saylor, and you got Tom Lee getting close to 20% of that piece of the pie. And tomorrow, Tom Lee is going to be announcing more buys. I mean, during that dip, BMNR bought a ton of Ethereum. And let's take a look at this visual. Tom Lee fleeing the country as ETH dips below 3,700. This is a funny meme that we saw. But you know what happened? Tom Lee, I mean, they went all in on ETH. I mean, we hear the alchemy of 5%. I think they're going to ramp that up to 10%, own 10% of the total ETH supply. They bought up 138,000 ETH worth, close to $500 million in, 24 hours. And that just shows their conviction. If their goal is to get road to 5% before February, road to 10%, this is the easiest way to do so, by buying on the major dips. So definitely huge opportunity there, for just overall, like, the community who believes in the crypto environment. Mike Alfred, definitely give him a follow if you haven't already done so. He posted Sunday morning thought: if long-term yields keep falling and open drops another 10, 25%, I may take a position. I like Eric Jackson. I like the energy and focus of the new chairman. And I've always thought the real estate buying process in America needs to be remade. Watching now. So, when Mike Alfred buys into Opendoor stock, I think this Opendoor army is going to get bigger. A lot of people believe in Mike Alfred. So that will bring in, a bigger open army that will just make the use case even stronger. All right, let's just go back to the chats just to see what everyone is posting. Oh, so thank you, Mr. Xiong. I really appreciate that kind gesture of you. Thank you, man. So Daniel, I'm so thankful we all get to win together. Yeah, Friday was tough, but you know what? Things will reverse. So Westchester, great question. Isn't Monday a holiday? Yes, it is a holiday. That doesn't mean the markets aren't going to be open. It will be open. The stock market will remain open. So you will see price movements starting Monday. Clean spark on eToro start today. Very interesting. Mr. Sion, thanks for bringing all the miner homies together today. Oh yes. I'm big on the miners as well. In fact, most of my allocation right now, I would say, is big on the miners as well. So we'll ride that up until we see that momentum not being at that level that we anticipate with the strength, the volume, the speed. So Janko, great question. Why is SBET worse than BMNR? I mean, stock price wise, we'll cover that as well. As to why, I think, just with where we are right now with digital asset treasuries, people are still trying to figure it out. And because BMNR has, taken the throne in terms of biggest hodl, Tom Lee has the biggest name out there, right? I think most people, gravitate towards the CEO. And Tom Lee has really made, a difference in this community, really, putting Ethereum at that level where, when you got Fundstrat involved, when you got Kathy Woods, ARK Invest, believing in BMNR, that's where it really changes the name of Ethereum branding. So Bob Truckle, is the market opening tomorrow? Yes, it is. Okay, Dan's market stats. I have 1,000 shares of Open, 1,000 shares of Bitfarm, 1,000 shares of KULR. Very good, very good. We will cover Open and Bitfarms as well. So let's go through this, quick update. So, short-term pain, long-term gain, weekly chart price targets. Donald Dean has it at $20, $24. Weekly chart showing normal consolidation after a large move. Trump tariffs also added to the push lower. We could see short-term weakness in the weeks ahead, but overall, with company changes, quick implementation, management uplift, and rate trends, a base should be found soon. This looks to be just the start of a symmetrical move. Start to set, at the 50% retracement at $20, 24 at the fib level. So, fib, going back, to like 2021 all-time high. We got this shelf being built, and it's only a matter of time where this retracement will stop, and then we will have price, momentum moving towards the reversal to the upside. All right, so that's all the content I want to share with you before we pivot over to technical analysis. But let's kind of see what all the questions are so far. If I have calls on CleanSpark that are up 670% already and are set to expire in 2027 at a strike 35, should I sell them or keep them? Bob, that's definitely a great question. You're definitely in the money. You basically 7x your money. If I were in your situation, I would take profits. 2027. Yes, it's good that you bought leaps. You got strike price of 35. Soon enough, it may even go beyond that, right? But putting yourself in like Katie's shoes, I mean, she took profits. I think, yeah, I mean, you got leaps, so time is your best friend right now. Again, this isn't financial advice, but anytime when you're up like 670%, definitely opportunity to just capitalize on those profits. Big money. I like that. Big money talk. All right, so let's just continue now. So, all right, so Bitcoin, we got the fib levels turned on. These are just, retracement on the short term of just the movements with Bitcoin. We had, price range of 126,000. That was where we had major resistance. And we had that big, bear candle that took place that really, dropped the relative strength down all the way down to like, oversold conditions, below 40. And now we're beginning to see a potential V-shape up, the fib level. We may very well, bounce back to 0.618. It may take some time, but who knows, whether it's going to be, Monday or, this week or even next week or not even this week. So it all depends, but I think this is definitely a good, movement that we're seeing. We're seeing that J shape, and hopefully we'll see it continue with the V shape. Overall fib levels, though, I think where we are, given the fact that we've just wiped out all the leverage traders and all that, this really gives it the opportunity for it to start skyrocketing. I think historically we know how Bitcoin runs, and let's just take a look at history. I mean, back in November timeframe, October, November. I mean, that's why we call it, Uptober, right? But we actually got Spooktober just recently with Trump. We got this, momentum candle. Let me just zoom in here. This is, we're going back to last year's events, October 10th. So just about last year, we had this move up. And then we started climbing. Started in November. This is where we had that big catapult. So October was a really good month. I mean, we had it go from like 60,000 to, like 73,000. So That's a big run up. And then going from like 68,000 all the way up to, that was like close to 30% gain from November onwards. So if history rhymes similar to what we saw last year, and given the fact that we now have like, financial institutions buying and all that, things may very well change. And, we may very well see Bitcoin break above the 1.618 fib. We definitely got to see it break, this prior resistance at the 1 fib level, 126,000. But I really do think we have potential for it to, break onward to the 1.618 fib level. So definitely some potential upside, even though, there's things that are going to be uncertain, especially with where we are with the markets. All right, so kudos to Katie, talking about that Lexus, and that hard work is paying off. Buying that Lexus cash, just coming in, bringing that stacks of cash, and just buying it outright. No interest, no pay down, no nothing, just straight cash. All right, so Bob, do you think that this week will be profitable or bearish? I mean, bullish or bearish? Bob, that's one of the questions that I think mostly everyone ask ourselves, right? We ask ourselves, what's going to be tomorrow? One thing I realize is that, no one knows actually. No one knows. Given the fact that we're seeing crypto markets pumping, we're leaning towards, yes, it will have a favorable day, at least for tomorrow, including tech as well. But we should base our strategy on how markets react versus predicting the market. All right, so Daniel looking at the S5. I drive a Prius, and hopefully one day I'll be able to, buy a nice car. Daniel, what do you think of Buru and GPU's high risk plays being talked a lot about? So I haven't really looked into that. So I don't have an answer. I'll have to do my research and get back to you on that. All right, so that NVTS or BBAI, which would you start a position on first? So that's a great question. NVTS or BBAI. I don't know what NVTS is. I think I've seen that, but I'm more familiar with BBAI. So I think BBAI will have a nice run up. All right, so a lot of Daniels in this chat. Yeah, that's true. We got Daniel Orellano, Daniel O'Connell, Mr. Seong. I'm heavy on CleanSpark, and I'm not selling. I almost bought some more Mara on the dip Friday into aftermarket. Chris King, tomorrow is looking stronger than anticipated. I agree on that. Daniel O'Connell winning. Yep, we're all going to be winning. And for those who went with leverage, I mean, I'm sorry to hear all of that. It's painful to see people like taking their lives and all that. But hopefully people can learn from those lessons and not really invest in high risk type of plays like that, where you're going super leverage mode. That's really good. I mean, right now, anything tech AI related, the momentum is looking very favorable for that. So I think those are looking strong. All right, so let's continue with the technical analysis. So where we are right now with Ethereum, let me just refresh this. And I don't have the paid version for TradingView, so it usually has pop-ups and all that. So please bear with me on that. All right, so Ethereum right now 4,143. I mean, we had this, break below 3,500. That was a big dip. I mean, who would have thought, right? I mean, we had, price, drop to like 3,800 back in September. We saw that momentum candle, and then boom, Trump announcement. It dropped. It tanked significantly. I think a lot of seasoned investors, they took advantage on this dip, and then what happened with it shooting back up? That's like a 20% gain already. Tom Lee bought this dip as well, so it gives him the power to to really feel the growth of what's to come. So I think where we're headed with Ethereum, we're already like halfway back up to where it previously dropped. So I think a lot of people who sold and all that, who are trying to get more money out from the banks are closed, but everything's all digital now, so I don't think that really impacts you for the most part. But this looks really good. Hopefully, we just don't have any more like scary announcement from Trump with any like aggressive type of posts. I think this will be a moment for us to continue the upward trajectory, especially with Q1 being a big correction, and then Friday being the biggest drawdown. I think Ethereum, with this big volatility to the downside, now I think it can start marching up. And the question is, how high can it go, right? So, I was predicting somewhere around that range of like, you know, 7,800, 8,000 above the 1.618. But, I think I'd like to see where we are first. Can we get to 6,700? Can we get to that 1.618 fib? Depends on the rate there. If we can get to that level, I think, there's room for us to, continue that strength. But let's just see if we can get to that 6,700 first. That's my forecast. Okay, just looking at the chat. Okay. Oh, Mr. Seong, thank you again, man. And Daniel, that was very nice of you for the kind gesture. Really appreciate that. I just wanted to take a moment, thankful me and all of us for your time and content. You showed us the way, and I couldn't have done it without you. Clean Spark's still going to rip higher if Bitcoin hits 150K. Yeah, I mean, thank you for that very nice comment, Daniel and Mr. Seong, for that. I'm grateful for all of you as well. Couldn't have done it without all of you all as well. We're in this together as a community, and it's great for all of us to see miners actually have an outperforming year. We talked about this, right? Miners back in 2024, we got a lot of hate with miners. We talked about miners underperforming, and because we had an underperforming year in 2024, 2025 better expect outperforming year. Clean Spark, we're getting a lot of interest. Wall Street has been accumulating since the accumulation phase, like Wyckoff's trading strategy. We've had the months where it was like in the single digits. They were just loading up on Clean Spark. They were loading up, and it went into the up phase, and now we're in the ascending channel. And especially with Clean Spark, really positioning into HPC AI, and with Matthew Schultz, the more transparent type of CEO. I mean, you see him posting on X and all that. Everyone really loves that kind of transparency from a CEO. I mean, he had dinner with Mike Alfred and the governor of Texas. So that's just showing where this is headed. So I really do think that there's upside to what's to come. So grateful to just see all that. All right, so Friday was a red day, but we know what we're holding. Let's go W. All we see is W. So definitely. But one thing I would recommend though, so one strategy to consider is we should be mindful. We should be mindful, and kind of like how Katie took profits. So set a strategy. Okay, so set like a spread of strategies. So you have like a price target, an end price target range. Once it hits certain milestones, take profits to the upside. I know it sounds crazy because ultimately you want to just hit the end goal target and then sell, right? But you never know how things go. You can always take profits to the upside. That's just one way to really capitalize on the movements and to minimize risk as well. So that's one thing I'm trying to really practice as well. For some reason, my headset kind of went out, so I don't know what happened there. But anyways, at least my screen is still showing, so I think that's what matters. But overall, Ethereum, yeah, DCA is the way to go. DCA. Um, but again, thank you, Mr. Siong. Thank you, Daniel, for the kind gesture there. Let's continue. Solana. So Solana, you know, definitely lots of volatility as well. Um, I kind of view Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana as like the big three, similar to like the big three miners that I've been, really covering. But Solana, it hit its top point 250 back in September. It dropped to 192, regained strength 237. It dropped down to 172 on the downside during that announcement. And, going from 172 up to, it was getting close to like 200 today, 197. So we will see. I think that we're just going to see a V shape up. Still definitely undervalued if you like Solana. All right, let's continue. So Opendoor. So, like we covered that post, Mike Alfred posted about Opendoor, right? That I shared with you all, but he's planning on taking a position with Opendoor as well. So that would be very nice having Mike Alfred to the team. And Eric Jackson, he's been following Mike Alfred. He's been following his picks, buying into Iron, Cipher, and they've returned huge, percentage upside returns. But overall, why do I like Opendoor? I mean, just look at the consolidation that's happened since now to then. I mean, it popped up to like 1079 back in September. So it's been about a month. It's been just consolidating in this range. But I think this is actually a good thing. Like you don't want to see it shoot up to like $11 and just have it like reverse going down all the way, right? Well, you're actually seeing it build a base. Like this is a key thing. I mean, current price is below the volume weighted average price right now, the VWAP. But I think that VWAP is somewhere around 950, so definitely undervalued at 757, along with the pullback of 7% on Friday. Relative strength is essentially getting a reset, which is a good thing before that next leg up. I anticipate as we get towards November, October, November, we may very well have this be in like the $15 up range on a moderate scale. All right, just going back to the chats. So Alex, time to buy more Bitfarm and Hive. Yeah, I mean Bitfarm and Hive, they are very good plays right now. I've been monitoring Hive at $1, and just seeing it go to like where it currently is. It's like, oh my goodness. The higher it goes up, the more expensive it looks, and it's kind of like, is it going to keep going up? But it just keeps going up. Bitfarms, I think the use case is very strong. The CEO, people are really, really liking what's going on there. All right, so BMNR. So what is going on with BMNR? So let me just refresh this. I had Elliott Wave on the BMNR. I'm bullish with Bitmine as well. Um, I'm curious to see who's bullish with BMNR. Put in the comments. All right, so let's take a look at BMNR. So what are we seeing on the chart? So one thing I want to call out, always suggesting BMNR when it was $30, shot up to 72, built a new support. After August support, September support, incremental $10 increase on the support, went up, created Elliott one wave 66, trended down. Elliott wave number 2, new support at $50. Elliott wave number 3, $68. And now we're at that Elliott wave number 4. I mean, we see a double top on the bottom. I mean, that there's reason for that to happen, especially with that big, tariff announcement news that happened on Friday. So, typically it increments up every month of like $10. But where we are right now, playing out the same Elliott wave 2. Now we're going to see Elliott wave 5, where we're going to see the price push up. I'm thinking somewhere around that $77, $88 range as we finish out the Elliott wave 5. Relative strength has cleared out. We had a huge volume of selling pressure, but I do think with Ethereum, above 4,000, and in addition to Tom Lee buying, Ethereum, this really puts BMNR at that position where it could start, trending up from here. So I definitely do see the bullish activity. All right, so Hive, Chris King, Hive usually sells off around $6 to $8, so the move to AI might extend its price action for some time. And then Steve, I'm looking for many miners to continue pumping. Yeah, I think it's the season right now, and it's not stopping. And I think it's key to see how the overall sector is doing. Iron especially, I mean, with it going up, like above $60 range, that just shows the strength in this sector right now. It's kind of like if iron can get up above 60, then, you got other, data center, AI infrastructure, Bitcoin operation miners, doing the same at one point. And we're beginning to see the use case there. But that's BMNR. SBET, we've been seeing SBET bleed out. However, that doesn't mean, in my opinion, that SBET is, going to be like a bad investment. I mean, just looking at the recent movements, yes, there's huge downward pressure, but look at this. This is major capitulation. I definitely do see there's upside for a reversal. I mean, at one point, this thing ran from $9 to like $40 back in July, and since then, it's been just playing out this pennant flag, pure textbook play for a potential upside run up, in my opinion, with SBET. As we head into Q4 with Ethereum expected to break out. All right, BT. So I wouldn't ignore BT as well. They have, X amount of Ethereum on their balance sheet. They also are focused on AI positioning with white fiber. 6% drawdown from the day wasn't that bad. But right now we still see the bullish momentum candle playing out. One thing to keep in mind, relative strength is fairly high, but let's just see where the strength will continue. But it did, reach the prior resistance that we saw back in July, 449. It had some resistance there, especially with the news that came out yesterday. But you scale back to November, this thing was like 575. So, when you look at this zoomed out perspective, we're seeing a cup and handle formation playing. We may very well start seeing it top above $6 onward. Tokenize. I love SBET. MetaMask is going to tokenize. Yeah, SBET is going to start tokenizing their stock through MetaMask. That's going to be huge. I mean, they're working with a number of different entities right now to tokenize their stocks. So I really like the technical aspects of SBET really just partnering up with other companies right now. MSTR, please. So MSTR, I took the big beating with MSTR last week. Oh my goodness, it was tough. I mean, I was getting wrecked with MSTR. But I think MSTR, when you look at Q4, in fact, I'll bring that up in the charts. I didn't realize that I didn't have MSTR. I thought I did. Let's take a look at this. All right, so MSTR. So we're seeing a double bottom top right here. So key thing, we're just hovering in this pennant flag. I mean, last year, November, $550. It hasn't done anything yet this year. I mean, all it's been doing is just bleeding out. Yes, we did see, April 230, that was capitulation mode. 238 all the way up to 450, and 450 now down. It got below 200. I think this might be the base. Who knows? We might see some, some pressure down to, I don't know, 280 at the most. But I think this is definitely a good opportunity to dollar cost average, or even take some options plays through December or even further out. I think that MSTR will have a bounce back. So definitely a good play that I think will definitely have some reversal to the upside. All right, so let's continue. So GLXY, I'm bullish on GLXY as well. GLXY to me is kind of like, it's going to be like the next Robinhood, Palantir type of play. I mean, we see it consistently trending up, and they're creating an exchange as well for people. They have Solana treasury, they have Bitcoin, Ethereum treasury. They're also positioned in AI. Soon enough, I think this is going to climb into the $50 range. Come end of Q4, I wouldn't be surprised if it just breaks above $80 to $100. 2026, we can see this, become like a very big triple-digit stock, in my opinion, with GLXY. So, yes, it's expensive, but it'll get more expensive over time. RIOT platform, so very, very, tough to see RIOT, having a major pullback. I mean, on Friday, it went up by like 6%. Things were looking very good. In fact, it got up to like $24, and then, it took a big pullback. That was all because of the announcement. So it'll be, interesting to see where the level of, support will be. Will it be at $20? Especially with Bitcoin, back to 115,000, we might see, the HPC AI Bitcoin miners, be in a reversal to the upside. So it'll be interesting how, the markets open up in the next few hours. But I definitely do think that, we've seen it break above 20 on several instances. It'll be interesting to see if it can just continue this momentum. I mean, this stock has been held down for quite some time, many years. We had this accumulation zone here, cup and handle played out, and now we're in that up leg phase. So I don't think we're in that distribution phase yet, where where the whales distribute out and sell out their stocks. But I think there's more demand right now, especially with anticipation of Bitcoin price going up, in addition to HPC AI announcement. We got a lot of price targets that institutions just announced recently. Let's take a look at CleanSpark. So CleanSpark, look at this beautiful, like, J shape. I mean, this was the major, we had major accumulation zone, starting like March, April, May. June had a slight up run up, and then we had, more capitulation going on here, up through August. So definitely the whales wanted to load up more before letting it send up. And then we got that momentum candle September 9th, and it's just been, looking like Bitfarms kind of play. Where it currently is, I mean, it got up to $22, definitely some strength there. Current price at $19. It'll be interesting to see how things really play out. So I definitely do see, the upside with, Clean Spark and what's to come. So where we are right now, I mean, just look at this puppy go up. So definitely, whoever's held on to, Clean Spark for these many months, kudos to patience. Patience sometimes wins in this game, and we've seen it. And this is why we Clean Spark. We see, the value in this company, what it's doing, mining 700 Bitcoins per month, transitioning to HPC AI. This is the future. This is what's going to, evolve the United States and the rest of the world. So in terms of where we're going to see it head up to, I wouldn't be surprised. It goes to like $25 shortly. But definitely nice to see Clean Spark move up. All right, going back to the chat. Mr. Siong, thank you again, my brother. I really appreciate the kindness. Mr. Siong, I bought heavy on Hive on the last big dip to 360. Hive still has big upsides. Good job on that, man. Hive is just one of those winner plays. I think HPC AI is really looking good. So Mr. Sion, that was like, 3 supers you sent to me. So, that's really cool, man. So I'm grateful for all of you. Thank you for that kindness. And Chris King, like the video for alliseeisW, guys. He deserves a recognition. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Janko, if we'll be here at Open Clean Spark, I would tell you if go up or down. So, we will see where it goes. We will see where it goes. At this rate, looking at, Bitcoin showing strength back now above 115,000. The fear level, I mean, everyone's still fearful, but, most people who capitalize be greedy when others are fearful, and, fearful when others are greedy. So do the opposite. Everyone's fearful right now. All right, let's continue. So we covered Clean Spark. Let's take a look at this right here, Mara. So look at Mara. I think a lot of people are like very, very like frustrated with Mara right now. I mean, including myself. Mara hasn't really done so well compared to like all the other miners, right? But one thing that they got is they got a huge amount of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Let's say Bitcoin breaks to 130, 150,000. Which companies are going to benefit? That's going to be like all the financial people are going to start pulling out their calculators. Okay, with Mara having 50,000 Bitcoins, how much did they gain just with, within the, Q3 earnings and all that, Q4 earnings? How is that going to look on their balance sheet? The fact that Mara, is considering AI as well, that really puts them in the trajectory for evolving as well. I mean, there is risk as well, right? With like stock, packages that the CEO gets paid out. So all of those things I think are being, assessed internally, so that it could really improve, shareholder confidence. But from a technical standpoint, let alone all the fundamentals. Sometimes I get too gravitated with fundamental analysis. I think technical analysis is definitely important to always consider as well, even though technical analysis might just get overtaken by, a Trump tweet. But let's look at the technicals. I mean, this had a big bleed down. I mean, it dropped, close to 8%. It ran up during the day, $22. And then now it's retesting the 0.5 fib levels. I don't think it's going to get any lower than this here. We're going to see a bounce back, retest the 0.618 fib, $18, and then start climbing up. I think we're going to see a cup and handle formation. Very high odds of breaking above 1.618 fib, getting above the 2.618 fib in my perspective. So $30 upside from where we are, at least at a minimum $25 in the coming weeks. So, definitely a lower risk type of play right now, especially given the fact that it hasn't broken out yet. And we know Mara tends to have that big run up. All right, so let's see, Bitfarms. This puppy looks like Opendoor Technologies. I mean, we had that momentum candle going from, this was like, back in June, this was like 78 cents. Boom, first run up, retracement, 249, boom, another momentum candle, all the way up to 515, retracement to 420. Definitely, some strength in Bitfarms. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out tomorrow. I mean, going from like $5 to 420, that's like a 25% drop off there. I think things are going to look very favorable. Bitfarms, it's definitely a growing expansionary company, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get a big announcement with this company and partnering up with like a blue chip company out there. Well, I spoke a lot, so that kind of covers all of the the technical analysis updates I wanted to share with you all. Just want to make sure I covered all the requests and questions. But first off, I just want to thank all of you for just being part of this journey. Just grateful that we all can just win together. And again, Friday was a tough day. Hopefully we all can, recover from the Friday's losses and build back up. Definitely no one wants to see, that happen. For some reason, my camera isn't working right now. So that box in the bottom right, so what I do for work, yeah. So let's just say I have a full-time job separately. Yeah, so you can guess. That'll be an interesting guessing game. So if you were to guess, what field do you think I'm in, and like what I do for a living? IT, Vandalay Industries. Close. I'm in the biotech sector, so that will kind of just sum it up for you all there. But I graduated, like interest in, in technology, in science and all that, and in finance as my graduate. All right. Well, I think that kind of sums it up. So, I try not to go above an hour. So I hope that was helpful to personal trainer. Yeah. Like what, every morning, like, right, I wake up very early, and then I go to the gym, and then markets open during my resting period. As I'm like lifting, I'll like look at my portfolio, I'll make trades and all that. So I'm like glued to the phone, making like trades and all that while, I'm resting and lifting and, doing all that, and then, having my normal work. But all right, guys, I hope that was helpful, and hopefully we can recover from Friday's big announcement, and let's just continue to win together. Grateful for everyone. Just stay positive, stay locked in. Grateful that we can breathe. We have the opportunity to invest. Just focus on the present moment and try not to predict the outcome. Just make strategic decisions, risk management, take profits on the upside, and let's just continue to share where the money is headed, and we'll continue to win together. But just wanted to thank you all. Have a good rest of the Sunday, and then markets open in less than an hour, so we'll see where things are headed. But take care, guys.